Hello again, everyone, and welcome to E02 Humanities, the new podcast featuring your favourite friends, the Twin Humanities. My name is Patrick, the ginger one. My friend, who are you?
I am the luscious brunette known as CJ. Look, radio tress effects.
Oh, next gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are listening to episode 2 of E02 Humanities, and because it is the end of the year, this year being the 2013 year, we thought we'd do ourselves a little game of the year, or games of the year special. And what we're going to do, we're going to take our top 5 games of the year that we've both sat and pondered and picked apart and debated over and thought, neither of us know what the other one's picked either yet. We don't know. I have no idea what he's picked. He has no idea what I've picked.
I've even avoided joining in Game of the Year discussions on Twitter and elsewhere simply because I didn't want to throw my cards.
I wish I'd done that now.
Yeah, I just didn't want to do that. And I've been excited to do this because I remember sort of when I mentioned it a while back. I was like, never mind the Game of the Year thing in like January. We'll do it sort of close to Christmas. That's kind of getting in early. And at this point on Twitter, everybody's talking about their Game of the Years. It's like, cool.
Now's the time.
Yeah. But
and before we begin, I'd like to know, because I sat here today and I had my list of games that I thought would make the cut. It was a good 11 long, and it took 20 minutes to cull it down.
Really?
Did you have a similar problem? Because I debated over this for a long time.
I actually didn't. There was one that was nibbling at the heels, and the reason that it didn't get in was more because I didn't progress in it as far as I wanted to. Mm-hmm. But I realised that everything on my list moved me in a certain way. And they had individual characteristics. I have to say that the top 2 were the 2 that I obsessed on the most this year. The others were games I thoroughly enjoyed. But the top 2 were the keepers. They were the throttlers, if you will.
And just so we're clear as well, the rules are it must have come out this year. Mm-hmm. If it is a port to another platform, as long as it came out this year, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And the other rule is we're not allowed to pick Dark Souls, because that would just be too easy.
Yeah, and that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, but I only played it this year, but still.
Yeah, that would be another list. Games that you played this year, and another list from there would be games that you wish you played this year. Because I mean, the list of Paddy and I are obviously the games that we've played and we've adored and stuff. These aren't necessarily all of the games or all of the big hitters, because sometimes a certain game takes your eye, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you think, I'll wait for that to price drop, if you're listening, this is our favourite games. If your favourite's not in there, fair enough. But one of my favourite ever games of the year lists was a couple of years ago on Classic Game Room, and he pretty much avoided every big game. It was
he just picked stuff he liked, didn't he?
Yeah, and there were loads of games in there that I ended up buying. I pitched in for the Mega Drive compilation on 360. Mm-hmm. There's a game called Dark Spire, which was kind of a DS RPG, which is just stunning. You could either have it in sort of old wireframe graphics or sort of VGA type graphics, and it was very, very similar to Etrian Odyssey or Shin Megami Tensei kind of Dungeon Master sort of step by step game. But there were loads of games in there where I was like, I haven't played that, I'm going to get it, and most of them were like really cheap at that point as well. So I really liked that list. I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, if you're coming over from Twin Humanities and you're having to listen to this is the other stuff that we've played. So we've had offcuts in the past with these little chats that inspired E02 Humanities in the first place. But this is the other stuff that's been swaying us beyond Dark Souls. So,
And so without further mon dieu, why don't you go first? After you.
okay. Well, my first one kind of came out of nowhere. It was a little downloadable title. It wasn't particularly expensive, but it ended up doing something that I've never seen in games before, in the way that it moved me. It distills the innocence and imagination of being a child in a way that I've not seen games do before, and that's Attack of the Friday Monsters on the 3DS.
I had a feeling that's where that was going.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it kind of burst out of nowhere when it was released. I saw a little trailer and I was like, yeah, that looks pretty sweet. And I had a long journey to my dad's, and it was like the trains were on strike, and it was like a series of bus journeys. And so I downloaded it, and I thought I'd kind of play it on these buses, sort of going up north, and just. I had all this like really nice scenery. It was like hammering it down with rain outside.
Yeah.
But on some of it, I was sort of on double-decker buses, like on the top and at the front. So I got this widescreen panoramic view of sort of going down these roads, which was great. And then I got my 3DS in the centre of that. And the Attack of the Friday Monsters was amongst the Guild games that came out by some very famous creators who were basically having a go at doing something really different. You've got Suda51 was amongst them. The chap behind what's it called? He did all the artwork for Final Fantasy 12, and he did that really great PS1
Amano?
dungeon crawler.
Vagrant Story.
Vagrant Story, yeah. There was a game called Crimson Shroud, which was kind of like a bit of a dice rolling sort of RPG, and there was some really sort of different and quirky stuff, but they were all quite cheap. There was like what looks like a bit of a survival horror game on a space station that was there, and there were a few little bits. But Attack of the Friday Monsters was Level 5, who did Ni no Kuni most recently.
Dark Chronicle, Rogue Galaxy, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
The games that I like.
Yeah, and it was. It's basically set in this very small Japanese village or town in the 1970s, and there's a real strong sense of community sort of between the flick screens that you run through. And it's this little boy, and you see his mum and dad and the police station. It's one of those places that once you've walked around it, it feels like a place. It feels like a town. It's got a real charm to it. And you go along, and occasionally you'll find these sort of little cards that you can then put into these battles with your friends in a kind of rock paper scissors kind of way. And each of the cards has got sort of monsters on. And when you play the card games with your friends, you get to own your friend. And it basically means like, and this is one of the things that really made me smile early on.
Yeah.
You can walk up to someone, point at them, and go, "Fall over," and they will fall onto the ground. And they have to do it. It's almost like this unspoken thing between the kids that if somebody wins at like the card game, that they get to sort of be your master, if they will. They've got like this
it's
powerful
the
command.
playground, you're my slave now.
Yeah, and it's that, and it's not as if there's there are big rules behind it, or as if there's this kind of, the card game is a powerful thing that allows you control the mind. It's just kids being kids and having their imaginative little games. Yeah, and
is the card gaming? Is that the main mechanic, or is that a side thing, or is that the main thing you do?
It's kind of a side thing. It's a really fun game to play anyway. But the town itself, there's a TV station that's there. And the TV station films this show which is basically almost like an Ultraman thing, like this giant, heroic kind of 70s bloke fighting like a monster, and the kids will all go to like the edge of the town to watch these things battle, and you don't know if maybe the TV station is just films a TV show, and that the kids are looking out into the smog and are imagining these things battling or seeing them in the distance. Like, so much is down to interpretation, but then it introduces little quirks into the town and into with like certain characters where you kind of go, where you start to see the difference between the children's imagination and the TV show, and really sort of your view is what the child's kind of seeing. So they might see what ordinarily could be like a stranger, that they might see them as someone quirky or evil, or But
so you're seeing it. You're not playing it as yourself. You're experiencing what the character would feel.
Yeah, but it's not even it's not even a forced perspective. That everything feels like really, really charming, and you get little things like you might get some bullies that are blocking a way at a certain point, and eventually you find your way to this pipe. And like at another part of the town, and if you shout down this pipe, like it goes to where these bullies are, and like comes out the other side, and is like and like they run off, and like this bully's sort of really bigging himself up, but he pants it when he hears sort of this roar coming down the pipe and stuff, and just the art is absolutely beautiful, captures the 70s look wonderfully. There's a real sense of community to the game. It feels like childhood. It feels like when you played those games as a kid, where you'd imagine things, where you'd find little quirks in the places that you live, and they'd be celebrated. They'd be part of your games in the holidays and stuff. And the way that it stirs all these things into the mix, doesn't give you an absolute, but just tells this wonderful, charming story. It made my heart burst. I just thought it was a wonderful game for like $6.99 or whatever it was.
It's a steal. Fantastic.
And I know some people have said, it's sort of a nice little 3-hour game or whatever. I put more than 3 hours into that. There are certain people that will bomb through a game trying to do everything as quickly as possible, and there are certain folks that will go, I just really want to take my time with this. I just want to run around, and I want to play the card games with the kids. Do you know what I mean? There are some people that will try to go from A to B as quickly as possible, rinse it, and then get on to the next experience. And I like taking my time with games that allow me to do that, that give me the room to walk or run if I want to.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely loved it, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. If you're the sort of person that wants a different experience, because like I say, I've not known a game that distills that childhood sense of wonder in the same way. I'd say go for it.
Excellent. Cool. It's always sounded interesting, and if I had a 3DS, obviously, I'd try it. But it does sound rather intriguing, and it sounds like the kind of game, you play to, remember being a kid.
Well, I just think with all of these sort of guild games that came out, it's nice to see creators throwing their talents at things that perhaps they might not think would be ordinarily that commercial. And the fact that they can do that on a handheld, put out these experimental games, and see how people
see what sticks.
Yeah, because the Crimson Shroud is with the you're actually rolling dice. The characters that you see are fixed to bases, and like when a monster roars or whatever, they rattle on the bases, and even the lands that you're progressing through are like a little game board.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that level of experimentation. And I'd like to see more of it. And even if they expanded that to the other systems as little sort of cheap downloadable games, fantastic. Because the the pixelish art of the 3DS versions could equally work on a big telly, because people love that sort of stuff. Or
I like it now.
put it through a HD filter and just let it be cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Right, excellent. Shall we move on then? Because
So what are you going for number 5 then?
Number five is a game I haven't had it for very long at all. I've been maybe playing this for about 3 weeks now. Okay. But in those 3 weeks, I have played it every single day, without fail. Every single day. It's on the Vita. It is pure gameplay personified down to the nth degree. My number 5 is Spelunky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now I'm picking this. It did come out last year on the 360 and and the PC as well. But it only came out on the PS3 and the Vita a few months ago. I think it's not been out long. And I've always been sort of tempted by it. And I thought, oh, maybe this. And then sort of, I think I grabbed it cheap the other week. I was like, oh, okay, brilliant. Couple of quid, bingo, boosh. And it was cross-buy as well, so it's on the PS3 and the Vita. Like, brilliant. I've not installed it on the PS3 yet. I've played it entirely on the Vita so far. And that's going to be a running theme throughout my list. The Vita has become my favourite place to do things.
But I remember you saying with Thomas Was Alone that you enjoyed it more on your Vita, and that it's a great kind of home for it. And when I was playing that on PS3 and I was looking for a Vita, I kind of stopped because I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to play that on Vita. So
Spelunky.
Why that would be a similar sort of thing.
And it fits the platform just so very well. And the main reason that I've been playing it every single day, is because they have a daily challenge. And before we get into that, I'll explain why that's important. So Spelunky is your typical. It's a roguelike, so it's different every single time you play it. And the aim of the game is to get through the mine and, win, essentially. Pile through it, don't die, win. Get a high score, get as much crap gold as you can and get out. You choose your guy. I always choose a little guy with a little sort of like a Lemmy beard, but, blonde with a sort of weird explorer's hat on. And it's a very simple platformer, essentially. You don't have many options to hand. You've got jump, you've got a whip, you can run a bit fast, you can chuck a bomb, and you can chuck a rope up to climb up. And that's basically it until you start getting to the shops and you start buying weird stuff. But those are the very basics that you'll use. The world's generated randomly every single time you play. So the only way to get good at the game and to beat it, it's not to memorise the patterns of where you're going, it's to just get good. And the daily challenge is a really good way of testing this against other people, because usually you will play on a random world. It'll make it randomly every time, so you'll never play the same one twice, and no one will play the same one twice. What the daily challenge does is it sends out a level seed to everybody, and you all get that level, but you get one go at it. And then you can see where you stack up on the leaderboard against your friends, against the whole world, and see whereabouts you did on the daily challenge. And you can see yourself getting better and better and better as you play. You can scroll back through previous challenges and see kind of what position you were at that time. And I mean, sometimes you'll jump in, you'll last 30 seconds. Sometimes it'll be 15 minutes. It's a very, very, very random sort of game. But it always feels fair. And it always feels like, again, not to bring up Dark Souls again, but it feels like when you cock up, it was probably your fault. Because you weren't looking.
Because I played the demo for Spelunky on Xbox 360, and was like, I'm not sure I'm quite clicking with this. But I remember seeing people afterwards say that the demo isn't at all representative of the game and how good it
really
is
isn't. You've got to
how addicted
that tutorial before it even gets close to what the game actually is. But as you're going through the level, you're finding so you're smashing crates. There's snakes and bats and typical things you find in caves, like spiders and stuff. There's some golden scorpions that are particularly nasty, but yeah. You can also pick up like more items, more gems, which you can find shops halfway through the level. You can rescue damsels in distress. Strewn throughout the world, and of course, because we have to do social issues now, you can either have a damsel, you can have a blonde-haired man wearing a big bow tie, or a dog.
Isn't it Pug?
It's a little pug, and or
Yeah.
you can set it to random, which is what I do, so it's different every time. And you get a different one. If you get them to the end, you get an extra heart to get through the game, which is kind of nice. You know, it's a good incentive to save them. You can also pick up golden idols, which if you can get those to the exit, you get a big cash bonus. But as soon as you pick the golden idol up, the world will start shaking, and you'll get a little message going, "You have angered Kali," and then, typical Indiana Jones fashion, Boulder starts smashing through everything left, right, and centre. And if you don't get out of the way, you're dead. Like the failure penalties are pretty harsh. Like, you'll be doing really well, you'll jump on one spike bed, run over, start again.
Well, this is one of the things which kind of resonated with me initially, and why I was kind of a little disappointed with the demo was that it reminded me a lot of an old Amiga and ST game called Rick Dangerous. Which looked a lot like Spelunky, but you kind of ran along and traps and spikes and stuff would like fling out at you, and often you wouldn't know they were there until they were there. And I loved Rick Dangerous to bits. Rick Dangerous was probably the well, it was core design, so it's probably the precursor to Tomb Raider in many ways.
Possibly, yeah.
But yeah, I used to really like that. So.
But it's a matter of you have to pay attention. You have to focus. You have to look at it. You have to know when there's going to be an arrow shooting thing. It's sticking out the wall. You have to know what you're going to do about it. You have to go around, because when you start rushing, when you panic and rush, that's when things go wrong. And you can actually there is an incentive to go quickly. Well, not quickly, but a decent pace, because if you hang around the level too long, a ghost spawns to come and get you.
Yeah.
And it is, the first time that happened, I wasn't ready for it. I was like, what? What's going on? Oh my god. Oh my god, what is it? Oh my god, there's a ghost! And
typically,
I ran into a spike pit because I panicked.
Typically, I am the sort of person that will take absolute loads of time on a game. And will but when the ghost sort of kicked in on the demo, I was like, what? Why? How? I don't want to go yet. I just don't.
It was great. It was glorious. And yeah, I have played it every single day since I bought it, and I will probably play it every single day. It's the perfect lunch break game. It is the perfect thing, because you can plop it on, play for 10 minutes, fuck up, restart, die in 5 seconds, and then go back to work. It's wonderful, and it's fits the Vita so very, very, very well.
I know the other week it was knocked down to about $4.79 on PlayStation Plus.
That's when I got it. Yeah.
When I went to get it, the discount had gone.
Oh.
And I was like, meh.
But yeah, I'd keep your eye on that, because it's a possibility. It might come up on Plus. You never know. Like, or if it goes that cheap again, get it, because it's totally worth it.
Yeah, because Lone Survivor's in that position at the minute, and I'm kind of staring it down and wondering if it's going to turn up on PlayStation Plus, like, in January or something.
Yeah.
Because I've been wanting Lone Survivor for quite some time, so I think I might pitch in for that.
Soon. But yeah, that was my number 5. My number 5 was Spelunky. Sir, what was your number 4?
Number 4 then. So, yeah, big open world, crime on the streets.
I know what this is already.
It's not the game that people are thinking of if they think that they know what this is going to be. It's not Grand Theft Auto. It's Lego City Undercover.
Yes, nailed it.
And this was a game that kind of I'd seen a few bits on the net for, but most of them were early parts of the game. Again, weren't particularly complimentary, and the videos didn't really show off what it could do, but still it was at the back of my mind kind of, I quite like to give that a go. And the game just wasn't dropping in price at all. It just was not. It was staying there, and there was a certain point where I was just like, fuck it, I'm having it. And early on I didn't really get on massively well with it. The open world is nice. There's sort of a little bit of loading, as you'd imagine on kind of Wii U, because it's not got the, you can't install it or anything, and it is a massive world, but it looks great. And the humour at first, it made me smile, but the further I got into it, when I really sort of gave it a lot of time, there was a certain point where, and this is in the same way as Attack of the Friday Monsters was a real charm and a sense of childhood. Lego City Undercover made me laugh like I haven't in a game. I got to there's a I'm not gonna kick in sort of spoilers or anything, but there's you eventually get to a prison, and the game kicks in with about 6 absolute ballpark Shawshank Redemption jokes. And I was really taken aback by them, and they were all really funny. Not just sight gags, but the voice casts were fantastic. They've clearly got the guy from the More Than adverts on TV to play Blue. And there's a great bit where, because I didn't even put 2 and 2 together when I was asked to see Blue in the courtyard.
Yeah.
And this bloke just walks up, like shuffles up really sheepishly. He was going like walks up to Blue and he goes like, "Hey, are you free, man?" He was like, "Just in case his lawyers are watching." No, I'm not. And there were about 5 or 6 really ballpark Shawshank Redemption gags, and that was the point where I went, I'm really having fun with this. This is great. And I've been watching The Good Guys as well on Netflix, and I've really been enjoying that. So kind of it was going back and forth between the two things with sort of really cheesy, funny cop heroics, and one ended up sort of fizzing into the other. And my favourite gag of the year from anything was there was a level set in a mine, and there's a part where Chase McCain, like your lead character, jumps down this mine shaft, and you go in. I think they've done something similar in the new Lego Marvel game, but you're falling down this mine shaft. It's very much like the start of Dead Space 2, where you're kind of falling and falling and falling, and you have to avoid stuff and pick stuff up. Yeah. But Chase McCain just go like, "Ah!" for ages, and then just stops, and there's this dead air, and then it just goes, "After a while, you really do get used to the terror."
Do you know what? That actually highlights something that didn't quite make my cut this year. I say this time, which was both Lego Marvel and Lego Lord of the Rings. Both have been, again, similarly brilliant and similarly fun. Because there's something about those Lego games. I love them. I love them so much. And Undercover's, I think, the only one I've not played, simply because it is on the Wii U only, and I don't have one.
But I know a few people have kind of looked at it, and I know Martin Charlton, who's on Twitter and is a very talented writer, plays the Lego games with his son.
Yeah,
and he was saying it's a real shame that it's only one player, because it's very much that kind of experience. And I know you and Laura played the Lego games together, don't you?
Every single one of them.
But it is a really brilliant game. The open world is fantastic. It's the script is incredibly sharp, and even though it's all American voices in there, it's a British vocal cast. It's Peter Serafinovitz and Adam from Adam and Joe, and it's fantastic, but a really fun game. And I've had a great time playing it, but I've laughed, honestly, belly laughed at it so many times. And this points in your everyday where kind of life can get you down, or bills or whatever sort of influencing, and anything that can give you that level of escapism and that level that can put a smile on your face and make you forget about everything else. Fantastic. And it's still kind of holding its price, though. Darren from Ken and Rinse said he picked it up for £20 today. So
reasonably priced.
It might be falling, but a great game. And I'm glad to see that Nintendo have done a bundle with it as well for Christmas, because whichever kid is getting that for Christmas, he's not only going to get a massive game, but I think they're going to have fun with it. But I think if mum and dad are kind of watching or decide to delve into it, they're going to find themselves laughing at a level of humour which is actually pitched for them as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
That the kids will like it because it's silly and it's funny, but mum and dad might get some of the references which are reaching a little beyond the little ones.
And he's going to have a better Christmas Day than the kid that got knack.
Yeah, I'd say so. But if anyone is planning on picking it up, just give it a bit of time. It takes a little while to show what it can do, but once you get to the prison, it's so funny.
And the only thing I need to know about this is the running around and smashing stuff still good? Because
oh
god, just beating stuff up in Lego games is just the best.
But you've also got the thing whereby you can build vehicles as well. And, you can build bridges across the city, and you might go to the port and end up building like a steamliner that will take you across to the prison. Or that stuff's really cool. And there's tons of hidden stuff as well. But great, really superb cast of characters as well. Just tons and tons of fun. And I can't recommend it highly enough. It's great.
That's good, Joy, and I'll add on my other Lego games, Lord of the Rings and Marvel as well to that, because they didn't quite make my cut, but they were so close.
I'm really curious about the Lego Marvel after seeing the BitSocket vid on the Wii U one, where one of them was playing on the pad and one was playing on the telly. So I think once Lego City Undercover's finished, I'm going to delve in for that. But bizarrely enough, like the PS3 and 360 versions are selling for about 22 quid pre-Christmas, but they're still locked the Wii U one at 40.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's the next gen, but because it's out on the PS4 as well, isn't it? And that's that was 50 quid.
Yeah.
Like, no. Simply fact, no. But no, yeah, it's, and speaking of next gen, let's segue nicely into my number 4.
I'm excited.
Well, I say next gen, you'll see what I mean in a second.
Okay.
My number 4 is the only sequel on my list. It's the only game that is not an original tale. It is a reinvigoration of a franchise that everyone thought was dying a death. It's woken it back up again. It's refilled it with life and with interest and with colour and with excitement and adventure and with fun. My number 4 is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm glad we're doing these little intros because it's fun. I'm sitting here going, like, what is it? Back of my head, going, what is it? Tell me, I don't know. Wow, I'm stunned because I remember you, like with Assassin's Creed 3, that you liked it, but there were problems with it that you weren't sure about. And I think you were kind of, that entertained me.
I liked 3. I liked 3 a lot. And at the time, I really liked it. In retrospect, I don't like it as much. But at the time, I really liked it because I am a fan of the Assassin's Creed series. I really like them. I'm one of the people that likes the Desmond stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm that guy. I'm the guy they keep making that for. So to everyone that's listening that doesn't like that stuff, I'm sorry, but they're making that stuff for me. So deal with it. And yeah, after the end of 3, like it ends. The ending to 3 was one of the worst things I've ever seen. It was shocking, and it kind of peters out a bit, and you're sitting there thinking, where do they go from here? It's pants. And they've done just the most wonderful job with Assassin's Creed 4. Basically, when I reviewed Assassin's Creed 3, I put in my review, because that was when they introduced the boat stuff, and I put in my review, the boat stuff is amazing. If they made a whole game of that, I would play the living shit out of it. And they listened, and they made it, and I did. It's brilliant. And I look back on my review, and that is exactly what I said. And yeah, they've taken the ship idea, which was arguably the best thing, the best new part of Assassin's Creed 3 was the ship. Without a shadow of a doubt, it was the boat, because it was fun. And they've taken that and they've expanded upon it so you can upgrade your ship now in a meaningful way. It's not just a side mission anymore. It's actually an integral part of what you do. Essentially, you play 2 characters in the game. You play Edward Kenway, pirate bastard, and you play the Jackdaw, the boat. Like, the boat is the second character you play as. You've got an open world to play with. You can go wherever you want, whenever you feel like it. You can go, right, let's go do some story missions, or, do you know what, sod it, I'm going to go over there and have an adventure over there.
Now, with the story missions, is there kind of a big emphasis on story? Because I sort of got the opinion, well, the the feeling on this one that it was more that you made your own story.
Yeah.
Rather than things being as fixed and fluctuating between the likes of Conor Ezio and Desibebe.
And Altair Ibn al-Lahad.
Mm-hmm.
And Radon Agaden from number 3. See, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that pays attention.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can in Assassin. There's 2 ways you can go about. You can follow the plot like a good little soldier. And to be fair, the plot itself does follow a fairly sort of reckless, do what you want sort of plot as it is. I mean, without going into spoilers, I'm gonna just talk about the first 10 minutes of the game because I don't think it's spoilers to talk about this. You start off as just a pirate guy on a boat. You're just Edward. You're on a boat. You're not in charge. You're just a pirate. And it's a big storm, and you get attacked by another boat with an assassin on it. And the assassin jumps on deck, and you see him take out the captain, and then big wave comes out, and everyone sort of goes into the sea. Screen goes black, and you wake up on an island with the assassin. He's quite injured, and you're kind of like, all right, mate.
Is that the chase sequence?
Yeah. The first chase is actually really good. Like, you chase through a jungle, and you follow him through, and you sort of chasing him down through the jungle, and you sort of see him sort of bleeding everywhere, and you finally catch up to him, and you stab him, because he's quite wounded, which is the only reason you ever get the better of him. And there's a wonderful moment where you stab him down, you drop him on the floor, and he sort of goes through his pockets and he finds a package, like, I'm delivering this to this place for this much money. And he looks at it like, steals his clothes, puts on the assassin's gear, picks up the hidden blades, looks at them, drops them on the floor, and walks off.
Awesome.
And that's just...
that's cool.
Perfect. That's cool. It's so, like, it's basically the developers saying... Right, we've done the secret stabby guy now. Do you know what? Let's have some fun. Because the last couple of games, there's quite emphasis on, being a sneaky, deadly assassin kind of thing. But that's not how I play them. I play them knockabout, fun. I run around, and I'm the guy that chucks the bomb in the middle, runs in the middle, and starts going at everyone with an axe. Like, and then when it goes wrong, smoke bomb out and run away like a pillock. I made a video of Assassin's Creed 3 of just doing all the dumb shit, like running around petting cats.
I remember that one.
And just leaping over fences over and over and over again, just having fun with that. And it's like they've realised, like, oh, this is what people play these games for.
Yeah.
Let's do that. The same way Saints Row 3 did, when they were like, people like the dumb shit. Let's make a game for those people. And it's brilliant, and it works, and it's fun, and you run around, and the missions feel natural. You're not just following an arbitrary plot. They feel like the sort of thing that you would do. The real world stuff, seriously, like, it's, without going spoilery, basically you work at a game studio capturing footage from an animus for a new game about pirates.
Cool.
And it's so weird.
But that's kind of optional, isn't it? Like, you can
do a little bit of it. Yeah, you can do a small amount of it. You can do the bare minimum, or you can run around and basically hack every single machine in the entire building, and get all this kind of backstory stuff. Really, really in-depth stuff. There's promo art for Assassin's Creed Liberation saying this was our first title and it worked really well. I'm like, oh my god, I own that game.
That's cool.
What?
I like that.
It's got some focus tests about some of the first assassins. For example, like, they pick out Ezio, like, he's, he tested quite well with people because he's quite cheerful, but he's a bit too much of a rebel, and we don't really want to, show him off. He was basically he was a bit of a ne'er-do-well and blah blah blah. So we don't think he's going to fest, so we're going to scrap him. Basically saying why the 3 earlier assassins would be bad for games by them.
Well, I wonder.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
I wonder if maybe one of the DLCs is going to feature the last from the Vita game.
I really hope so. Really hope so. Because
it would be with the Vita game getting a little HD polish and coming to PS3 and 360 very soon. It'd be a nice little segue to introduce the character and get a little crossover between.
Totally. The next DLC that's coming out today, I believe, features your second mate, Adewale, a former slave. And it's all about slavery, apparently, and apparently it's awesome. But it literally came out today, so I've not played that yet. But yeah, no, Assassin's Creed 4, it's the real-world stuff is brilliant and full of little small bits. There's actually a chapter of the official novelization of the Assassin's Creed 4 book in the game. You can read it as a text file. And I went to Waterstones and I saw the book. And it's written by the same guy, a guy called Oliver Bowden that does the novelizations. And that's how they credited it in the game. And I thought, oh my God. And I picked it up and I thought, I think it was chapter 3. And I flipped through and it's the same.
Oh, fantastic.
It is actually, and it blew my mind. Like, it absolutely blew my mind.
Because what turned my head towards it, which is becoming commonplace these days, is hearing Chet and John talk about it. I mean, I'd sent you the link to Chet and John's YouTube where they had an in-depth on it. And those guys are so passionate about games. But that turned my head towards it by going, that seems really fun. And especially with John not being a fan of the previous games and sort of hearing him sort of...
Yeah, come round.
Quiz sort of Chet with regards to it and genuinely entertaining. But that made me go... perhaps this is for me.
Yeah, it's just fun. I mean, there are some of the missions are still terrible. The eavesdropping missions still suck completely and should be wiped out. But they're not. There are a lot of them, but you can get through them, push through them, and it's fun on the other side. And actually, the rewards for doing the side missions as well. Like, there's actually a point to them. Like, you're picking up skins and stuff, and rather than just kind of going to a dry menu and selling them, you're using them to craft new outfits and new items. And, like, you basically craft all the gear that you own. So you craft your health upgrades, which is armor. You craft your gun pouches, so you can hold up to 4 pistols. So you can kind of go pew, 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 at 4 different people, which is the coolest thing in the world. You can craft new outfits, which aren't just palette swaps. They're actually completely different outfits now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Really good. You can some of the stuff you plunder you can use to upgrade your boat. As you sail your boat around, you can take out ships, you can board them. If you successfully board them, you can choose to send the ship to your fleet. So you can use it in the sort of Facebook-ish game where you kind of send ships out to earn money for you. You can capture the crew, add them to your thing, repair your ship. You can send them away, reduce your wanted level. There's so much you can do, and you can just go, you can set sail, and you can say, right, I'm sodding off in that direction for no reason. And you can just go for a sail, and you can just get into so much trouble on the way.
I like that so much.
And you get like whale hunting missions, which, animal rights people notwithstanding, really, really fun. Which is basically harpooning. And the rarest one you can find of those is a white whale. Jesus Christ, it is a task and a half, but you feel like a god when you take that thing down. Just every little thing about it, every little thing about just jumping on a boat and saying, I'm going for an adventure. And it's the most it's the best sense of adventure I've had since I first played Minecraft.
I'm up for that.
Yeah, I'm going to go over there.
And I'm genuinely surprised that this is in your top 5, but that's the final turn of the head towards it. I think I'll
grinned.
I'll have a slice of that.
Most of the time I played it, I was grinning. And key to this, the little moment that sealed it. Again, in the first hour, you're chasing a guy through the streets of Havana, and you say something on the lines of "Get back here, shitbird."
Is that the best made up word since the put down that was in Final Fantasy IV, I think it was, where somebody says
Spoony
Bard.
Yeah, it's great. I love shitbird, the kind of thing that I say. And it's like, yes, kindred spirit.
Yeah, okay.
Enter the bastard. Assassin's Creed 4.
I'm good to get that.
Yeah, so that was my number 4, which was Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Right then, so we move on to my number 3. My number 3 is a game that I've played twice previously. To a certain point, I rented it once and really quite enjoyed it, and then bought it on a different format and found it a completely joyless experience. And I was keeping on in the game, but sort of sighing a lot and just, I don't know, it was a strange one. And why would I buy it a third time? Because I was curious. And because so much had been done to it, and so much love had been put into seemingly put into retooling it. And my curiosity was piqued. The price point was fantastic, but I had no idea what I was getting in for. And my number 3 is Deus Ex: Human Revolution, the director's cut on Wii U.
Oh, that was not what I thought you were going to say.
Really? I thought it was being quite obvious there.
No, I had a couple of other ideas there, but no, okay. Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
I rented it a few years ago on 360 and kind of got into it to a certain degree, but it was only a rental, and I'm sure I sort of sent it back thinking, oh yeah, I'll pick this up when it drops in price. But didn't, as with most people's complaints, I really didn't enjoy the boss battles, which were
that's an acceptable place to be at,
which were farmed out to other studios, and whereas you could play the game as aggressively or peacefully as you wanted to, the boss battles you just had to throw.
You had to be shoot man guns.
Yeah, all guns blazing, but also there wasn't a lot of subtlety to them either, and so I picked it up years later on PS3 and just didn't enjoy it. Just didn't, and that's not a fault of the system. I think sometimes it can be the right game at the right time, and you can be in the right mood for it.
I agree. I think that's the kind of game you need to be in the mood for. But Techno Spies.
I think that when it was announced on Wii U, it was announced as an exclusive initially, and it was due out in April. And all the footage had shown how they'd integrated the DLC into the game itself, that the boss battles had been retooled, that if you wanted to play, if you were playing a peaceful run, you could find other ways around the boss battles, and it looked like they really looked into it, and rather than it just being kind of spat out onto a new system, it looked as though they were trying to identify what worked, what didn't, but also that they were concentrating on the actual Wii U pad, and they looked as though they were trying to make use of it in a way that a lot of other developers hadn't. So I'd seen the videos, and they'd said that there was 8 hours of director's commentary on there. A strategy guide was built into it. It just looked like so much love had been poured into it that I was like, yeah, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go for that experience. And even new, I think it was retailing at that point for pre-order at like 23 quid.
Which is crazy.
I was like, yeah, I'm in for that. I'm all in for that. And so it was then delayed. Presumably Square Enix were having trouble with their financially. I think that was well reported. And, perhaps they just said, right, we'll get this out on the other systems. And so it was delayed until October, perhaps.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it came out on PC and PS3 and 360 with the director's cut as well. But the Wii U version arrived, and it looked gorgeous. I think they've taken some of the yellow filters off, so it looks
I think I've heard that they've either toned it down or said it so you can turn it off, haven't they?
Yeah, well, it doesn't appear to be there sort of naturally, and it can be quite striking when it goes to a cutscene, and on the cutscenes it's still kind of there. It's not jarring, but you can tend to notice it if you're looking for it. But the thing that surprised me was how it stole me away in the early moments. So I'm sitting there, I'd put the disc in, I'd sort of switch the lights off in the room, and you've got the opening sequence where you're walking through Seraph Industries, and then the big event happens, and you get essentially torn apart, blown up, etc., etc. And it goes into that sequence where they're trying to save Adam Jensen.
You get $6 million man.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and the gamepad's not doing anything. It's and all the action's on the screen. And then there was a certain point where they introduced a level of storytelling with the gamepad which just made me catch my breath. I was watching the screen, and everything's going on. They're trying to rescue Adam, and things are failing. And somebody says on the screen, "The uplink's taken," and straight after that sentence, the gamepad screen flickers and then uploads with all the menus.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked down and went, "Oh!" It really shocked me. I was like. And there was a level of bonding then with Adam Jensen that I'd not had previously. As daft as that sounds, and the gamepad use is fantastic. You can get all the stuff that you had to go into menus for on the other versions. It's there to run through it, sort of a finger press to go from your missions to all the computer screens automatically come up on there.
The hacking and the email and stuff as well, isn't it?
The hacking stuff's on there. Your maps are on there, but also you can you can do all your augments and that kind of stuff. But it's literally you're playing. You're controlling with the thumbsticks on the pad, and then you just looking down at the pad. And I know there's one critic in particular who was saying that they got a degree of motion sickness because they were looking down at the pad and then looking back up to the TV. And I'm thinking, where the fuck's your television? Because I wasn't having to move my head. I was just looking down with my eyes. But yeah, they've also got stuff in there. Like I say, you've got 8 hours of director's commentary on there, which I've seen some of the footage highlighted on the GSX YouTube, and they've shown that, and it's really detailed. It's quite self-deprecating as well. Where they're saying
just to jump in, how does that work? Do you kind of hit a point in the game and it starts doing it for you if you turn it on?
You can select a vocal track.
Oh.
And there'll be certain points like the bit that's on the GSX YouTube is the bit where you walk into the police station and you're having the conversation with the guy who was kind of discredited and he's behind the desk.
Oh yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
They're having sort of that conversation about what they were trying to do with the character, but also the guy that voiced Adam Jensen, and they were saying that they were still sort of looking for an identity for Adam as to who he'd be, and there was a certain point where obviously the actor was coming back a number of times to do different vocal recordings, and one of the developers said, I realised at a certain point into it that Adam Jensen is Clint Eastwood. And I said this to the voice actor, and he went away and watched Unforgiven a number of times back to back, and then came back and he was like, I get this character now. I get it. I get what we're doing. I get where I want to go with the voices. Can I redo this bit? And they were saying no, you can't, because it's already locked down. And so you can actually tell on this little bit it's before that conversation had actually happened. So they're actually not just going, this is great, everything worked, everything was perfect. They're actually highlighting the quirks of the development process, and I like that. And even though I'm going to play the game through and then go through with the vocal tracks, worth checking out the GSX YouTube to see what they've done with it, because it's really quirky. But yeah, there's other stuff that you can do, that you can leave messages for people on your friends list in the game. So you can get to a bit, if you've got this option on, where it will get to a point, and if your friends highlighted a point, they can tell you about it, and give you. They can actually, you can take a screenshot and draw on the screen with the stylus as to things that are maybe in the way or aren't, or where to go.
Like silence pistol hidden over here.
Yeah, but you can also leave a vocal recording as well, and most people have done really humorous ones on there.
I would hope that they would be funny.
I went on again tonight before we were podcasting, and I saw some that Sean Bell of Midnight Resistance had left, and there was one where you're in an office with David Sarif, and he's drawn a fist punching David Sarif. He was like, "When you get to this section, punch David Sarif in his smug little face." And there was another one which just said, "Walk down this corridor, nothing's going to happen, everything's going to be fine."
I know which corridor you're meaning.
And Scott from Bitsocket had got a bit where there's a number of people in the room, and for some reason he's just drawn a cage around them. And it's really great. It's quirky. It's funny. And
you know, that highlights actually one of the best things you can do in Deus Ex, which is when you're bored of the conversation, just twat people.
Yeah.
I love that. Because I think everyone finds that by accident, don't they? You're thinking, oh, shut up. Oh my God, I punched her in the face.
I think the thing that surprised me about the Wii U version was, with all the stuff that the gamepad does, I know many people don't consider the Wii U sort of next gen because it's wholly underpowered compared to the new machines.
It's that weird middle point, isn't it?
But the experience felt like something that I'd not had before. It felt next gen. It felt like the way that I was seeing computer screens come up on the gamepad, on the gamepad, and the way that I was doing all this other stuff, and I got information in front of me I didn't have to leap into menus for, and it was a wonderful song for what the Wii U is capable of. And what it can do. And it's a fantastic little game. And to say that, as we're recording this just before Christmas, I've seen it as low as 15 quid, the Wii U version now. And it's a great game. It's a wonderful version of it. Plus, I find myself, maybe because of that first moment with it's taking the uplink and then it flickering through on the pad, I found myself kind of bonded to the character and the world in a way that I hadn't been previously, and that might be subconscious. It might be because of that switch being flicked early on with the aforementioned moment. But it's great. I really think it's a little bit special. And whilst yes, some people will go, "Oh my God, it's a port," it's kind of not. They've done enough to it to make it a better game. And the version of it that exists on the Wii U is just glorious.
It's great. I mean, it's a version I want to try with my Vita, so I want to get this stuff too.
Yeah, I think they've done similar stuff to the Vita version, but I'd say do it because it's the implementation of the second screen and controlling it at the same time. It just really works. It really, really works.
Plus, I'd really like to do the boss fights as a sneaky ninja man, which is how I played the whole game until those points.
Well, I've seen some footage of the is it Barrett, the first boss fight?
Yep.
And they've completely changed the area that the fight takes place in.
Thank God.
You still got that room. You've still got the room with like the bombs and stuff, but I think you can go upwards and there's an area above, but there's also different surrounding rooms where you can go into the vents. And I think an emphasis is placed on getting turret hacking abilities because you can hack turrets and bring them into the room.
Ooh.
And drop them, and you've got different rooms where you can access the turrets as well. So they've really pulled things apart, but also all the DLC stuff where you travel to India, I think. Is now put into chronological order in the game.
That's good, because there is a whole chunk, when you play the regular game, there's literally a whole entire chunk where it just skips ahead.
Yeah.
Like a week.
That's
like, what?
You will now go straight into that section. It's not as if that's on the main menu, it's the DLC is an option to go into at a later point. It's all seamlessly woven into it. So,
awesome.
Awesome. So highly recommended, and that's my number 3.
Number 3.
Sir?
Right, my number 3. So we're going from a game with. I think your game had quite a large budget, quite a large team working on it, didn't it? My game has a much smaller team working on it, a team of I believe just one person. It's an indie. It was on the PC, came to the Vita. I picked it up. It was on PlayStation Plus, which was fantastic because I love PlayStation Plus. It's a simple platformer that it made me give more of a shit about its very simple little characters than I did for basically any other game this year, by virtue of the way it did its storytelling and the way it presented itself, and things we'll go into detail more in a moment. My number 3 is Thomas Was Alone.
I knew you were going to say that, and I kind of alluded to the fact that you coerced me into getting this by the way that you jumped up and down about it so joyously early on in the year, and also made me stop playing the PS3 version when I got it, because I wanted to experience it on the Vita.
Yeah.
And I have been playing it again on the Vita, and it is absolutely bloody wonderful.
It's why I tried to move us on quickly when we started. It came up early. I thought, oh god, it's going to ruin my entry. I can't talk about it now.
So go for it, because I know that we did a little bit on one of the Twin Humanities offcuts with regards to Thomas Was Alone. But go into detail, because your story on it is a wonderful story.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I say, I got it through Plus. I got that, and I got Sound Shapes as well, were the two that I got. And this was I was house sitting for my parents because they have cats and they were going away for a weekend away for their anniversary. And because I was out of work at the time, I thought they were like, "Do you want to watch the house for a week?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I could do that." So I loaded up all my games on my Vita, everything new. I brought my laptop, I'd loaded up Planescape Torment, I think, on there as well. Had that ready to go. So I went round to my parents' house and I sat there and I pretty much played Thomas Was Alone start to finish in maybe 1, possibly 2 sittings at most. It grabbed me and it would not let me stop playing it. To the point where I think I played Planescape Torment for half an hour for the entire week. Like, I could not stop playing it. And when I finished it, I then went back again and played it again with the director's commentary on the exact same week.
Now, you see, this is a correlation that we've got between sort of both our number 3s. Then I guess it's like that both of them have got directors' commentaries on.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons I picked, because the director's commentary is just so very good. It's made by a man called Mike Bithell, who's one of the game indie Twitterati now. Big talk, lots of Twitter stuff. He's really into the social media stuff, and it's good because you really get a feel of, how he's making his games. He'll always post stuff up when he finds something cool. He'll always talk about the things he's doing. And with this director's commentary on Thomas Was Alone, you really get a sense of what was going through his mind when he made stuff. He said, right at the start, he's like, it's called Thomas Was Alone because one of his friends said, sounds a bit emo. And it sort of stuck from there. And you really get a feel for how he designed spaces, how he came to the puzzles, how he got to the story beats as well. And it's just really, really nice to get the insight on it. But we haven't even talked about the game yet. Thomas Was Alone is a game about rectangles. Tiny, jumping rectangles. And these rectangles are essentially computer programs inside a PC, I guess. And they are experimental AIs. And it's essentially the AIs becoming sort of self-aware when they wake up, which is Thomas's first thought, is that he was alone. And he looks around, it's just Thomas on his own, who's a little red one. And you sort of learn how to make him jump, and there's a wonderful narration by Danny Wallace over the top.
Wonderful narration by Danny Wallace.
Really good narration. And it's just really charmingly, it's almost like a storybook.
Okay, I'll interject this as well, which ties into Attack of the Friday Monsters as well.
Shoot, yeah.
But the way that Danny Wallace gives that voiceover, for me, distills you back to being a child and being told a story. And I tell you one thing, I cared so much about those little blocks, and sort of still do. And there were points where I realised that I was swallowing quite hard. I was a little bit misty-eyed.
Right? Right? Yeah, the personality that infuses these little rectangles is just, it's wonderful. And the way that the storytelling is mixed in with the mechanics is amazing. So as you go through, the next guy you meet is a guy called Chris, who's a little orange one. And his jump's a bit rubbish. And he's quite, he's a bit resentful about this with the other ones.
He is very resentful.
Yeah, and he's kind of, a bit of a glum chum for most of it. And then you meet John, who's a tall yellow one who can jump miles.
Like the athlete.
Yeah, and they kind of... The way the characters can move around is then fed into the level design, and it helps the storytelling by way of them talking about, only the big jumpy ones could reach the bits at the top there. Huh, good for them, eh? Mm-hmm. And, you really start to get a sense of who these little coloured blocks are. A standout one is Claire, the big blue one, who's a superhero. Mm-hmm. Because, she's sat there on a block and the block's falling away. It's like Claire was going to die. She knew she was going to die. And the blocks are kind of falling away around her in this kind of water, and the last one plops away and she floats. And it's this wonderful realisation when she's like, oh my god, I'm not dead. I'm a superhero. Uh-huh. And as her bit goes through, she talks about, she wants to save the other guy, she wants to help them, she wants to save them up. And I don't want to spoil the end of the story, but at the point when you sort of reach the apex, which is not quite the end, the story does peak just a little bit before the end. There's 10 chapters. It peaks around the end of chapter 7. Uh-huh. I'm sure you know the bit that I mean, but I'm not going to say it out loud. Mm-hmm. That bit there, I just sat there staring at my Vita, not quite sure what to do with myself for a while. Like, it was just a wonderful moment of just a bunch of people coming together to help each other and to help strangers they've never met. It was glorious, and I still play it back, and I still play that level back, and it's still wonderful.
Well, I'm still going through sort of the Vita one, and generally I kind of play it in bed at night, sort of before I go to sleep. That's when most of my Vita playing's sort of taken up. But I'm more curious to get to the director's commentary now for two reasons. One being that I love director's commentaries anyway, and I thought that I was the only person that listened to them on movies. But it turns out that Mike Bithell is a big fan of director's commentary.
Yep.
so that chat went on Twitter. But also from Game City, I know how much I enjoyed his talk at Nottingham Castle with regards to volume, but also sort of how interested he was in the historian he was talking about, Robin Hood, there as well. So I'm curious to hear Mike speak again after hearing him speak, because I really enjoyed that Nottingham Castle talk, and I am genuinely excited for volume. So brilliant choice, which I endorse thoroughly, but I'm kind of going through it at the moment.
Still not there. And I did just a quick mention, volume, which is looking like a new Metal Gear Solid 1. Oh my god.
Yeah, pushing Paddy buttons.
He's got a picture of my face, and he's gone, let's make a game for him. And I've said yes. But yeah, no, my number 3 was another platformer on the Vita. Thomas Was Alone.
Blimey.
That's 2.
Right, so my number 2 kind of came in out of nowhere, really. Like to think that I'm kind of up on my games and know what's coming out and what's not. But it took a video on a gaming site to even show me what this game was, and I had no clue, and looked and just thought, yeah. Actually, it was the third video on a gaming site, and it was a return to the game and saying why people shouldn't overlook it and why should progress. And I hadn't seen the first video, so sort of took in all 3 at the same time. And at this point, there was a very tenuous similarity to a much bigger game that was coming out, a game that I was really enjoying. Was really looking forward to kind of playing, and I ended up getting both, and the big title ended up falling away at the side of little title, not for any other reason other than the fact that I couldn't stop playing it. Whether I got 20 minutes before I had to leave the house, or whether the bugger was going to just zap 5 hours off me. And my number 2, and my top 2 are the 2 games which have just devoured me for the majority of the year. My my number 2 is State of Decay on the Xbox 360.
Oh, I saw that coming. I got about halfway through, I realised what you were talking about there.
State of Decay, I tip my hat to Chris Bratz of Video Gamer because he championed it wonderfully. And when it came out, I kind of got the feeling that Microsoft were washing their hands of it a little bit, because it kicked onto Xbox Live Arcade seemingly with no fanfare. The initial version of it had screen tearing, and it had a number of other sort of little bugs in there, but reviewers and sort of folks in general seem to look past them and really embraced what the game did right. You know, I can forgive any game its shortcomings if there's ambition in there and if there's a genuine love for what's there. And so I looked and I thought, yeah, this looks like fun. I'll download the demo and I'll give it a go. And like I say, Chris Barrett had said it's more than the sum of its parts. Kind of just keep going with it. It takes a while to show what it can do, but it gets there. So I downloaded the demo on. It was a Saturday. I got maybe an hour or so to kill before work. I was working an afternoon shift. And I downloaded the demo, and I kid you not, I played 5 minutes of the demo and bought it.
Wow.
And this wasn't even the point where it had showed me what it could do. I just kind of went, this is great. I'm up for that. You know, when you get a taster of something, and you just think, yeah, I'm all in for this. This is a sense of adventure that I really, really love.
Sold.
Yeah, and I want to give this developer my money. And the tale of the game is the fact that it was in its opening 48 hours, it made something like, I'm sure it was like 1.2 million.
It was crazy numbers, wasn't it? I remember
1.2 million. It really caught fire with the public, having had no promotion seemingly whatsoever, and the developers were really committed to it. So within 2 weeks there were a load of bug fixes. The game was v-synced, so the screen tearing had gone, and that kind of commitment and ongoing commitment sort of thereafter, there's been a few other patches, is admirable anyway. But the game itself is a zombie game, and it's an open world.
It's open world, isn't it?
Yeah, and I played the early bits sort of before I bought it, and it was, you know, set at sort of a camping site, and it showed you the world, it showed you the zombies and kind of the attack mechanics and how to creep and your normal tutorial stuff. But it's what it did afterwards that really grabbed me, because after this tutorial section, you take a long drive to the town of Mount Tanner, which is where you spend the majority of your time. And you get in this car, and it's not as if you get into the car, the cutscene kicks in, and you're at Mount Tanner. A, you have to drive there, but B, it celebrates the fact that there's such silence. I mean, you've got a wonderful score that kind of, I know, doesn't interfere with the game, but sort of tickles at the edge of it. And it's by the chap that did the first 2 Assassin's Creed games.
Okay.
Jesper Kidd. And you just take this really long drive to get to Mount Tanner, and that it celebrated that degree of atmosphere by letting you kind of have this huge degree of foreboding as you drove, knowing that the world was ending, essentially. And you sat in this silence, and you were in the car, and you were driving there, and you saw these, you know, the canyons and the shadows flickering off trees, and you just felt mournful. And I just thought, if this is the way that you're going to pace your game, I'm intrigued, because it's not a good horror game. And isn't just about the jump scares. It's about those moments where you're waiting to see if something happens, or and that it lets you breathe as much as as the scary stuff is great. But when you get to Mount Tanner, you end up hooking up with a group of survivors, and it's very much I don't know, a human management sim as much as anything, because you've got this house with sort of quite high walls, and there's barbed wire on the outside, and people on sort of a plinth with a shotgun trying to pick enemies on
guard duty sort of thing.
Yeah. But the people that are in there, you can take control of one character, and eventually you can kind of take another one out with you to go around the rest of the city.
Okay.
But if you find and bring other survivors back, there might be tensions within the building because of the supplies level, that people might think that the supplies are going to dwindle.
Yeah.
So you've got to raise morale by going out and looking for more supplies, or perhaps later on looking for a bigger place to stay, but that means sort of moving on, and so you've got that to balance out. You've also got interactions with the characters, like there's a priest that's there, and there's a great piece of conversation between one of the characters and the priest, where they were saying, well, where's your God now? The world's ending, there's death roaming the streets, where's your God? And the priest basically said, you found your way here, and you're safe, and you're fed. If that isn't proof of my God, then I don't know what is.
That's not right.
I like the fact that there was no right answer. There was no sort of dominating side to it. Kind of both of them were people with perspectives.
Mm.
And whereas I wouldn't say it's a particularly character-based game, you do get involved with the people that you're controlling, because you level them up in almost an RPG style. And they can become better at sort of using melee weapons, using better at guns the more that you use them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you've got the various houses that you can go and investigate, and you can examine different objects in the house, and you can do that quite slowly, or you can speed it up, but there's a chance that you might make a bit of noise and attract the attention of zombies.
That's clever.
Yeah, and some of the houses will have kind of zombies in them. There are hordes of zombies that wander the streets, and also on your map you'll see that certain houses become infested, and you then have to go to these houses to try and clear them out. And there can be you get like screamers in there who will attract the attention of other zombies. If you get in a car and you go somewhere, zombies will be attracted to the car, the noise of the car engine, or you can attract the attention of a horde if you like slam down on the car horn and stuff. And Mount Tanner feels like a real place. There are houses there. There are quickie marts. There's post offices. There's police stations. And I was spending my time, if I got 20 minutes, I was maybe, going to get rid of an infestation in a house. So I'd just like to.
Ooh, you're for a treat. Anyway, we're moving past. So yeah, back to Resogun. Resogun. I did a tweet, and I'm very proud.
Like somebody at work today was going like, you've got plaster on your hand.
That's what I made just
because it keeps things fresh. And also, I think it humanises the characters as well, because they basically exist as you do, I guess.
Yeah.
But there was a certain point where, and it was one of my gaming moments of the year, where one of the characters said that there's a doctor that's gone missing, and there are some ne'er-do-wells over at this certain place that you should go and talk to them, because maybe they know something about it.
Some ruffians.
Yeah, and I looked on my map, and like the arrow was pointing off map, and so I zoomed out, and the arrow was pointing off map, and I zoomed out, and the arrow was pointing off map, and I was like, how big is this place? And like way over yonder, I'm talking like a huge drive, was this farmyard. And I got over to there eventually and sort of talked to these lads, and sort of found the doctor there as well. And there's a certain point where one of them sort of moved to the window, and I'm sure this is like almost like Chinese whispers in the back of my head now, because it feels like something that I've actually lived through. But one of the lads sort of moves to the window and went, "They're coming." And I looked, and literally, dots on the horizon, there were zombies moving towards.
Nice.
And it must have been a good 2 or 3 minutes before they reached the farmhouse. And that space in between, I was genuinely panicking. I didn't know whether to sort of try and batten down the hatches or whether to go out and fight them or whatever. But because there was that space in time, it wasn't like they're here and like bang, they're attacking the house. Because they were over there, and then I got time to worry, bothered me.
And that's really good, giving you time to fret and wonder if your defense, if you've made the right preparations and
that's it. And
what have I got time to do?
Not just fret, but second guess yourself.
Oh man!
And sort of when they arrived en masse, and there was like a really massive one in there as well. And I started fighting, and there was a certain point where my stamina was low, and I was running away from the farmhouse, and they were coming after me. And if I tried to run, they got me. If I tried to swing the axe that I was carrying, that would use the stamina, they got me. And I was caught between, do I run, do I swing? And at that point, I had no right answers. And yet I was desperately just trying to get away. And that character died. And I kind of put the pad down afterwards and was absolutely mortified. It felt like I'd lost someone, and for a game that's not particularly characterful, if you will.
Yeah,
you're not given these characters' lives in huge detail, but their limits feel like human limits, and the place feels like a real place. And that really affected me. And there's even a bit sort of later on where you realise that there's a girl that sort of works the tannoy at the house, and she believes her dad's missing, but you've already had an encounter with her father, and her father's turned. How do you tell her?
Ooh.
And these little dilemmas are fantastic, and they really. There's almost like an Assassin's Creed-ish sort of thing where you climb up to the top of the radio towers and you can survey sort of the town a little bit more. You can see where the hordes are. You can identify things and take that information back home. And moving on to sort of not just bigger sort of a bigger house, but the further I got in the game, you realise that the place that Mount Tanner opens up is just a tiny suburb to a bigger town. And when you get there to shops and streets, and rather than just sort of the essential sort of supermarket down the road and a few other bits, and then townhouses, you kind of go, wow. And like $12.99, and I actually know a few people that have gone, it's a bit pricey that, I'll wait for it to drop. And I'm thinking, there's a part of me that's like, I've been so invested in this, I've had so much joy from it. Please don't fret at $12.99.
Yeah.
But it was a wonderful, wonderful game, and I got stolen away from it really by my number one. But it's a phenomenal game and recommended to anybody, and especially at that price point. Please do not second guess $12.99, especially when you've got a creative team that are committed to this game, but I think there's such big things in their future.
Nice. So that was your number two then?
Yes, forgive my extended rant on that, but
I enjoyed it. I was having fun. I was enjoying listening. That was number two, State of Decay. Right. Me again then.
Hit me with your best shot, Pat Benatar.
Woohoo! Okay, my number two. It's from a game that I've got from a company I've got quite a bit of history with. I've played basically everything I've ever made, and it was a new franchise released this year by this company, It, similarly to Thomas Was Alone, it is one of the few games this year that's really made me care about the people on screen. It's one of the few games that made me give a shit. And while it does have a couple of problems here or there, it doesn't matter, because by the end of it, I was a broken, empty husk of a man, not quite sure what to do with myself. Because my number 2 was The Last of Us.
I remember seeing your video diary for this.
Just to explain what that was, what I did, I thought, because I'd heard it was quite, a emotional game, I decided to record a video diary. So every couple of hours, I'd record another couple of minutes of what I felt about the game at the time. To get a read on how the ups and downs were.
You're my friend, and I think the world of you. But seeing how that game affected you, the deeper and deeper you got into it, was at the same time as harrowing as it was a pleasure, because I think it's wonderful that games as a medium can move us like that we can get so passionate and so involved with characters and places and people and situations as obtuse or as far beyond our world as they can get, or as real as they can seem. And it's a genuine pleasure when a game affects me like that, but seeing it affect other people in the same way, I absolutely adore.
Yeah, it was because I had it for review, so it turned up about a week early to everyone else getting it. And I thought, brilliant, I've got my hands on it early, fantastic. And I cracked in and I blasted through it. I had a couple of days. Well, this is when I was out of work, so I blasted through it in 2 days. That was exactly 16 hours over 2 days.
You really were. That was one of those where you. But I think.
I don't think I ate food in that week.
I was going to say, don't think that this is kind of a quick game to barrel through as well. The reason that you did that game in 2 days was because you couldn't stop playing. Couldn't stop.
It was a solid 8 hours each day of just solid. I don't think I breathed or saw the sun for a good time of it. But yeah, I was barreling through it. 1, because I had to review it, but 2, because I couldn't stop playing it. Could not stop. And I got to the end, and it destroyed me for reasons I'll go into in a minute. But I was kind of a bit. I didn't know what to do. I was sat there quietly for the rest of the night, just like, oh man. And then I realised what made it worse is because I didn't have anyone I could talk to about it. For at least a week, there would be no one to talk about it. And I just sit there going, I need to talk about this with someone. And I was having a little emotional crisis. I was like, I need to discuss the things. It was harrowing. And then just that weight of that week, just waiting for people to start playing it. And they did. And then I could finally talk to them about it. And it was nice to see other people, getting into it as much as I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to break down, if you don't know what it's about, because you should do, but if you don't know what it's about, Last of Us is post-apocalyptic, but don't let that put you off. It's an outbreak has happened, and you actually play this outbreak at the start of the game. That middle bit. So usually when you see a zombie film, it starts after the world's gone to shit. You are playing the bit when it goes to shit, and it is horrible.
I will state that if you can play that opening section without bursting into floods of tears, you're dead.
Yeah, you don't have a soul. It will break. Like, I thought, Jesus Christ! Like, I'm half an hour in, and I'm already getting the feels. Like, it was horrible. But yeah, you play through it, and then it jump cuts 20 years ahead. So the world's been ruined for a while. I say normality has been resumed. You've got the quarantine zones with military people all around, and the virus is still around, which is manifest in the form of clickers, they're called, which is basically fungus has taken over someone's brain and made them crazy and a mushroom person. It's fine. It works, and they're very scary. They work on sound, so you can stand in front of them, they won't see you. But if you make a noise nearby, they will come and they will get you. And the clickers, unless you have a shiv in your possession, when they get you, it is a one-hit kill. You are dead. So there's been more tension. I found so much tension just moving through areas where there was some not even nearby, just in the distance, thinking, oh crap. I hope I don't have to shoot a gun because they're all going to run at me if I shoot a gun. And really, you know, looking at these areas and thinking, right, now how do I do this without pissing anything off? And what I like about the game is that it gives you a lot of tools for that. You acquire more as you go, but you get like bricks and bottles you can use to either throw or to smash people in the head with. You get a bunch of different guns. You get a bow you can use. And it really gives you a few options you can use to get through these areas. Ammo is always scarce. You'll always be kind of, you know, on the ragged edge of running out of ammo because you are scrounging it from everywhere. And scrounging is very important. If you don't scrounge, you're dead. The health system. No regenerating health. First aid kits only. So if you have a bad fight, you can't just wait for 5 minutes and be fine. You've got to heal up, which is good. It's good to get back to that again. We've had so many games with regenerating health. It's good to get back with something with actual goddamn freaking health packs in it.
I agree. I'm on your side.
And it just like and it really ups the tension when you've got the last little chip of your health left, and you can see there's 5 guys in front of you, and thinking, oh my god, if one of these bullets hits me, I'm dead. So you don't just fight the clickers, you fight men as well. And in true current zombie fiction, the zombies are a problem, but the real problem is the people. In the way that, you know, what society crumbling down will just turn people into bastards. And the things that they do to you and in and around you are just awful. And it's made more awful because of Ellie. And so basically, you play as Joel, gruff smuggler man. You know, he's a bit of a dick, basically. He's a lot of a dick, actually, to be fair. And you are tasked with smuggling Ellie to a group called the Fireflies, who are like the resistance, the radicals that are trying to, you know, fix the world and, you know, get away from this, you know, infection stuff. So, of course, it doesn't go off so easy. You get to the Fireflies and it's all gone tits up. And you kind of, you basically, you're shepherding Ellie around. But it's not an escort mission. Like, you'd think it would be, but it isn't. Because Ellie, she can handle herself and she will stay out of trouble. And there is, admittedly, a lot of people laugh at the fact that she can run in straight in front of an enemy and they won't see her. But if they did see her, that would be more annoying than if she didn't. It would be a nightmare. If they had to program her stealth in as well, because you are literally running cover to cover, just keeping your head down, hoping things don't see you. But the way, and again, I can only talk about so much here because it really is the kind of game I don't want to talk about because you spoil it. But there are so many small moments. You get so attached to Ellie and Joel as characters, and even the side characters they meet, you know, for an hour or two each, you know, sort of side mission people. You get so attached to them, and you really give a shit about how they feel and what they're doing, and just by the end, it breaks you. Like you're doing everything you can to keep these people alive.
I think a lot has to be said. That I mean, I know Naughty Dog are good at creating sort of the visuals and their worlds and stuff, but so much is carried in the voice actors' tones and delivery and the humanity and of how heavy those words are. Even the motion captures just wonderfully fluorescent and human.
Yeah, it's the best I've seen since Enslaved, and that's high praise from me.
And whilst, you know, State of Decay was the game that stole me away from The Last of Us, that's no put down of The Last of Us at all. And it is a game that I genuinely want to come back to. Yeah,
it's something about it. It's special. Like, you're playing it, you're thinking this is good. Like, I think this is really, really, really good. And the technical design of it looks astonishing. The animations are all smooth. Like, just the nuances. There's a choke maneuver where you can go behind a guy and, you know, choke them down quietly, and you can see your chokee's face. You can see them struggle, and their face goes a bit kind of fat, and they just go limp. And it's just so perfectly animated, and it's exactly the way you'd expect to see a guy get choked out. And they're just the way the face goes red, and you just sort of see them lose energy, and they just drop. It's the little tiny nuances that do it. The tiniest little nuances that do it. But yeah, it's a game that I've beaten it once, And I'm kind of loath to play it again because I don't want to have to go through it all again. Like, it's harrowing.
I mean, it's difficult with stuff like that when you have got a genuine attachment, because part of you wants to experience that again, but I think the overriding feeling is that you'll never get that first time back again.
Yeah,
And
it's the same reason that I won't play Nier again, the same reason I won't play The Walking Dead again, because that was how I played it, and that was what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ruin that, because this is how I played it, and these are the things that happened. Admittedly, in The Last of Us, it's always the same things. There's no, like, choice or anything in it, really.
But that a game can, that the blade of a game can be that sharp, and that you don't want to experience that with any degree of bluntness, even for I don't know, for the sake of nostalgia, you're pushed away because the memories in your own mind are still so real, and that these characters and the places and the journeys that you've walked feel real, even though they've happened to the other you on screen. They feel real. They're almost like a potent sort of memory of your own.
Which does raise an interesting point, because what we were talking about earlier, you're not playing as you in this game.
Yeah.
You're following Joel's story, and you're watching what Joel does and Joel's choices and Joel's actions. It's not you. And that, like, when he makes there's a few decisions he'll make, and you'll sit there going, "Oh my god."
Yeah, but that's
what we're doing. Oh god.
That's because you can invest in a character that seems human, that has quirks that we all have.
Yeah.
Maybe makes someone who makes decisions which are different to you, but the fact that they're making that decision and you might pull in a different direction, or you might know the weight of that decision and empathize with it in a similar way. I mean, that's wonderful. I mean, I once read a piece by comic book writer Mark Waid, and he was saying that we'll never know what it feels like to be the Flash, to run at the fastest speed of sound, but we know what it's like to chase after a bus. We might not be Batman and take down villains, but you know how it feels when you think someone's broken into your house or is wandering around outside, and that terror and that fear. And it's those human moments that we've known. However your story goes, however you want to project it, if you're humanizing it to a degree where I give a damn, where almost subconsciously I'm relating with experiences of my own, and I'm bothered. That's the joy of gaming. That's the reason that we do it.
Yeah. I can't disagree with any of that. Yeah. But yeah, it's the only game I've played that came out this year that has left me an absolute broken shell, because I did the depressing trilogy of Last of Us, then The Walking Dead, and then Spec Ops: The Line, one after the other. Oh my god! By the end of it, I just wanted to play like a cartoon. I had to put Rayman on because I was so depressed. I needed some cartoon punching.
I'm surprised that he didn't follow through from that. Like this poor French guy with the big nose. He hasn't even got limbs. How do his hands and legs stay there? How does his hands and feet stay there?
How does he find clothes that fit?
How do you do it? Surrounded by this cartoon world that wants to destroy you.
What happens if he leaves a hand behind in a locked room? Can he never get it back?
Just your perspective from every other game changes, and it becomes a tragedy.
Yep. Just roll some sad violin music over the top, or a mournful guitar, and that's it. I'm gone.
Yeah.
Mentioning mournful, the soundtrack for Last of Us is astonishingly good.
Uh-huh.
Emotive. It puts you right in the moment, and yeah, it just hits you right in the chest. Like, it's
wasn't it quite a famous person that's done it?
Someone? I don't know. We'll find out later. But yeah, it's while it is my number 2, I think it is the best game of this year. It's the best technical achievement. It is the best people coming together to make something special. It is the best for me. It is the best game of the year, but it's not my number one.
So what is? I'll ask this question sort of afterwards, really. But I am curious as to what has informed your number one to push it over that point to sort of leapfrog it, if you will. But yeah.
Well, do you want to jump to the number ones now?
Yeah. I believe that we're here.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? You can go first, and we can wait for the Last Arch Redemption at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So your number one, sir. Fire.
Yeah. My number one has taken an interesting journey. It's a journey that I've thrown a huge amount of money at, based upon instinct and feeling, and it's a game that I've had a couple of swings at in the past and have not clicked with it all. And yet it's brought through the biggest gaming moments of the year, the biggest challenge of the year, the biggest evolution in me of the year, and just it's become obsession. There's a certain point where you get a title and it's not just something that you play when you're not at work. It's something that is there in your everyday, and it's speaking to you. You hear songs at work on the sound system, and you pass the day by trying to put references from that game into those songs, or there's just little bits that kind of flicker and wave at you throughout your day until you can get home. And my favourite game of 2013, by a considerable margin.
I've already written it down. I know what it is.
I know, because I now don't shut up about it. My game of the year for 2013 is Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the Wii U. Applause. So yeah, I actually picked up my Wii U and my 3DS primarily for this game.
You did. You totally did. I remember you saying almost that exact phrase to me.
And I didn't massively click with the PSP one.
Same here. I don't like the PSP ones. I've tried them and it just drive me crazy.
In the time that I had with them, they seemed quite obtuse and hard to get into. And then with the PSP having the single analog, it doesn't exactly help the camera.
Say that again.
But yeah, the will was there, but the stuff that I experienced, I just didn't get into. And I knew it had a huge following in Japan, etc. But I wouldn't say I'd give it an amazing amount of time, but I didn't click with it. And I then picked up. I went to this amazing sort of Monster Hunter Try event in Manchester, which Capcom did, and it was awesome. There were like these sort of comedians and sort of loincloths and attractive ladies in sort of similar sort of loincloth bikinis, and it was just like a really funny vibe about things. There was a guy from Capcom that talked about sort of what they'd done with it, and then you went upstairs and there was this sort of darkened room with all these tree stumps that people sat on, like attached to tellies, and there was a competition to see who could beat like whichever beast it was that was in the particular sort of challenge. And I had a really good day, picked it up on Wii, and yeah, again, didn't massively get into it. It was great to have sort of two analog sticks this time, but it still felt a little obtuse, and I still had that feeling that I wanted to get into it more than I was.
It's a big pond, and you were kind of just playing in the shallow end, looking at the deep end, going, "Oh."
Yeah, and I think there was a degree that my own ability wasn't superb, but I wasn't sure of how to kind of get beyond those shortcomings.
Sure.
And I'm sure it got stolen away by other games, and kind of I left it alone. So I think what changed me in the meantime, and the reason that I spent £310 £10 on a Wii U bundle, and then £170 on a 3DS bundle was Dark Souls. And the fact that I was up for a challenge. I'd changed in the meantime. I'd evolved. I'd become kind of. I wanted something to fill the void before Dark Souls 2, and I got the impression that this was going to be the game. And when I got my Wii U, so there were two podcasts that inspired me getting it, and both of them were Midnight Resistance podcasts. And, one of them was talking about the Wii U, and whereas most media outlets, the only thing that they can say about the Wii U is to criticize the sales of it, that is more or less the only thing that you will see on a mainstream site, sadly.
I also heard that it had no games.
Apparently. Few of them in my list. But yeah, the Midnight Resistance podcast on the Wii U was just really singing its praises, really positive. How much sort of Sean Landy had enjoyed playing with it, the games that they played. It was great. It was two people talking about something that they bought that they were really enjoying, and not with a degree of cynicism, or it was like this is how much fun we're having. Plain and simple, laid it out. So there was then a Monster Hunter podcast that they did where they talked to a guy from one of the big Monster Hunter sort of YouTube and channels, and just going through sort of the history with the game. And Sean Bell in particular, I remember saying that because of the online aspect, he'd actually made more progress in 20 hours on Monster Hunter on the Wii U than he had in 100 hours on the Wii version. Wow. And I was like, oh. And the reason being that you can go into online hunts with 3 other people, and essentially as a newcomer, you can go in with people that are more experienced than you, and when the creature's downed, you can come away with stuff that you wouldn't necessarily come away with. And that's pretty cool in itself, but I think that's where it starts. And the advantage of the online stuff that I found is that there are people that love Monster Hunter who will pitch in the novices rooms and basically talk to people about Monster Hunter. They'll be like, I'll be in a room as like a Hunter level 2. There might be somebody that's level 3 and level 1, and there's a guy in there that's like level 73. And he's saying, he's going on hunts with you, perhaps, building up his own equipment and stuff. I don't deny that, but
yeah.
These people have generally been sort of, have you got any questions? Is there anything that you're going for? Have you got any quests that you want any help with? Do you want to know what your next upgrade path is? Just people being genuinely nice, and to have enthusiasts for a game who are genuinely getting a kick out of getting people enthusiastic about a game, and it is still a little bit obtuse to get into. I think he's fantastic. I absolutely adore that. And early on in my own game, I went on a hunt with 3 experienced sort of hunters, and I was essentially wearing kind of pots and pans on my head and like plates sellotape to myself in comparison.
You bought a stick with a nail in it.
Yeah, I in comparison to them looking all sort of swish and colourful and like they just stepped out of the Avengers.
Gods of Death.
Yeah, and I looked like, a kitchen at IKEA. And sort of I was in sort of this initial lobby, and they were saying, you need to turn on your microphone. And I was like, how do I turn on my microphone? And on the gamepad in the top right corner, it said microphone. But they weren't kind of being arsey about that. They were just, I don't know, they were just quite nice about it. And went on sort of a number of the hunts and was told sort of not to mix and match your armour because different the armor that you carve from different creatures has properties that adds up. You know, if you've
So it
got
stacks as you go.
yeah, if you've got a monster that's say in the volcano regions, that it's going to be resistant to fire, or there'll be properties from the beast themselves that's native to the beast,
Yeah.
and whatever abilities it has as it attacks you, once it's dead, you can then use that to your advantage and use that as a strategy, almost like a rock paper scissors, if you will,
Yeah.
against other creatures. So that was a bit of an eye opener. And I then went into my own game, and I started sort of making progress, and was really going to try and get a great Jaguar outfit, because they're the kind of creatures that the first real test, if you will.
Okay.
And ended up sort of building this outfit, got a complete outfit, was dead chuffed about it. There are loads and loads of different weapons that you can choose from, but I'd centered on the longsword, which is like a really big katana.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy called Tom Rizell on the Midnight Resistance YouTube had done a phenomenal video showing off all the Blade Master weapons and their different abilities and quirks. And
I think you showed me that.
I even put it on again. It's a wonderful piece of work, and I hope Tom comes back to do one on armor, because it really was fantastic. But I even watched it again the other day and was like, I didn't know it could do that with like my katanas. But that's great. It's another enthusiast being enthusiastic about the game, not sort of having it as some closed little club that's for them and them alone.
Looking for group.
But I still sort of drifted away from it. Busy at work maybe, or involved in other games or whatever it was. And then there was a certain point where there was a kind of whisper at the back of my mind, which was like, put Monster Hunter back on. And it kind of grew ever more choral, I guess. And there was a certain point where I came home from work one night, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna pop it in. And I was quite involved in Gears X at this point, and I just thought, yeah, I'm gonna give Monster Hunter another bash. And I ended up finding my in, and not just clicking, but really, really clicking with it. Mm. Suddenly everything fell into place with regards to armor. I started building decorations, which you can add to a number of the armors and weapons in the same way as you can with like materia in Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, yep.
And I started thinking about the properties of the creatures that I was fighting, and varying the armor depending on the resistances that it had got. So I started thinking really laterally, but it was literally like downloading all of creation into my pocket calculator of a head. It was great. And I was like, and I made progress, but the sort of the changing point was there was one fight that I was doing. I was fighting a creature called a great Roggy, and this thing
that's a cool name for a beast.
Yeah, it's a WROGGI, and it's kind of it's sort of quite a velociraptor looking motherfucker. It's quite agitated and sort of quite lithe, if I remember rightly. It's got sort of like a sort of ruff around its neck, and then almost like this kind of crocodile gob. But it's also one of its properties is poison. And I've been advised since that it's good to kind of either build a sword or an armor out of it, because it makes you resistant to poison.
Okay, that's clever.
Which is pretty cool. But I was fighting this thing, and I was dying, but rather than being put off, and I was fighting it on my own as well. This was like in my solo game. Rather than being put off, it was like, I'm gonna fucking hell you. There was grist to my mill, sir. And I thought, right,
iron in your coffee.
Yeah, I was. I thought, right, we're going to prepare for this, and I'd not really done much with traps previously, and you can either you buy trap tools, which are essentially a box, and then you can put things that you can combine other things with them to make specific traps.
Okay.
So if you get from foraging around the area, because you've got like rocks and things like that you can get, and like bugs that you can catch and stuff, and if you then combine them with other items, you can make bigger items, or you can make quirky items, or like if you get, say, a herb,
like a bug rock.
yeah, well, if you get like a herb, it will give you a little bit of energy back. But if you combine a herb with honey, you get a potion.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's sort of
rudimentary crafting almost.
Yeah, and there's loads of that, and you can experiment with the crafting sort of back at home when you're there. But if you get something called a thunderbug, and you combine it with a trap tool, you get a shock trap. Ooh. And if you get webbing and you combine that with a trap tool, you get a regular trap. And the regular trap, you need sort of space to be able to do it. You need a couple of moments where the creature's either elsewhere or returned or whatever. And there's moments where it's like, please have time, please have time, please have time. When you guys kind of laying it down on the floor. But the sort of trap tool, the regular one, the creature will fall into it, or the shock trap, it will be frazzled at the same time, so you can sort of hammer into it. And there's ways as well where rather than killing a creature, you can trap it, and if it's weak enough, and you throw like a lot of tranquilizers at it as well afterwards, that you will then get more from the creature. Because essentially you rather than carving it up when it's dead,
you've not spoiled the meat.
Yeah, you're getting it as whole. But
that's great.
But anyway, I was in this battle with sort of Great Roggy, and it had poisoned me, and I had barely any health left. And this thing was over the other side of the screen, and I laid down a trap in front of me, and I stood back from this trap, and literally, I remember it being late at night. Almost involuntarily, I shouted at the screen, "Come on, then!" And it ran at me. It hit the trap, and my health was barely anything at this point. At the point that it hit the trap, I ran towards it. One sword strike was the final sword strike, and it died. I had literally barely a sliver of health left.
Like you couldn't see it.
And like I say, it was late at night. I don't know sort of quite what the neighbours think of me afterwards, but I kind of, after it went, I was like, fuck off! And once again, it was really involuntary, but it was like booming.
You need it.
And I was like, oh, that was amazing. And it was kind of like taking down because I know you've said that you've not enjoyed Monster Hunter in the past in the same way as I have, but we've been through Dark Souls and we know how great the likes of a Calamite can be. A lot of these creatures have individual characteristics, and in many cases some of them can imitate other creatures and call other creatures in to fight alongside them, or to bother you at the same time, or there was one where I was fighting a Rathlos recently, and I damaged it, and it went into another area, and I went through to that area, and it was feeding on herbivores, like trying to get its energy back. That's and I was cool. Like, oh my god! And sometimes you'll get creatures that will come in, and if there's any smaller creatures around, they will stand back in fear of that creature.
That's cool.
Love it.
That's really cool.
But yeah, I started to that sense of, I don't know, being that invested and having such a triumphant moment was a big deal, and I was smitten from that point.
You've got to start talking about it.
No, it drew me in more and more and more afterwards, and as even on days when work's been really hectic and I've come home really tired, and I can have sort of trouble with my muscles at times. So to come home and relax, and even go into the online side of things and just think, I'm just going to hit monsters with other people for a bit. And I've really relaxed into it. But one of the other big moments came after that, and it was from the online side of things. And I'd gone into this room, and there were 3 other people, and we were going sort of fighting various beasts. But there was a kid that was in this room and was on the microphone. At first, I thought it was somebody playing like Land Before Time samples or something, because it was just like this kid had sort of quite a traditional sort of cartoon voice about them. But it was the kid I'd maybe wager was about somewhere like 8 to 11 or something like that. But this kid saw our team as we were going in as essentially the Avengers, and they were like, "Come on, let's get him!" But in like a really sweet American accent.
Yeah.
And kind of like, "Yeah, we got him!" And like, "Come on, CJ!" And like, if I'd like died if I'd like fainted and I was like running back to the action, and like, "Oh, we did really well there." But this kid was also talking to their mum in the background.
Yeah.
Saying to the mum, "Oh, I've got this now, which means I can upgrade my armor, and we were really good, and we thought the monster was gonna get us." And it was the sweetest thing in the world. And as much as online gaming can be looked at as people screaming obscenities and racial abuse and all of the cliche of online gaming.
Yeah.
If there was anything that, if Nintendo could bottle that moment and say, "This is the Nintendo experience, this is the Nintendo difference," that would be it.
There's their advert.
It was such a beautiful moment, and it was a kid that was not only really, really enjoying what was there, but their mum was there.
Yeah.
And they were telling their mum about it. It was a shared experience with the family. And I just thought that was just plain wonderful. And I was beaming about it afterwards. And it was something that caught me completely off guard, but I just thought was beautiful. And amidst those moments of triumph of my own, where I bested a beast and I'd become more, and at the point I'm at now, I've got a full set of Rathlos armor, which means that seemingly I don't need to sharpen my sword so much, because it's quite a spiky beast, I think. And
you're saying it sharpens your sword for you.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I seem to be sharpening it less, as to whether that's in my own head or not. But I've got some sort of wyvern blade like katana, which is not only massive but sort of belches out fire and makes this delicious like shunk kind of noise, which twists knots in my stomach like I'm in romantic love with it. But I still feel that I've barely scratched the surface with this thing, and I know there's a feeling from a lot of journalists that you obviously have to go through lots of games that a 6-hour game is fine, or a 3-hour game is fine. Yeah, that's great. Who wants 100-hour games anymore?
Who has time for that?
Quite a few of us do, and quite a lot of people don't have staggering amounts of money, don't get games for free. And to really be able to sink into a wonderfully deep experience that grows with you and that you can get more and more out of, that there's such a level of community, is wonderful. And that's what I enjoyed with Dark Souls and with Demon's Souls before it, and that's what I've found with Monster Hunter, and which I'm still falling into. And those moments that I mentioned, kind of, and the continual evolution is why it's untouched as my number one. So forgive my massive rant with regards to that, but I am utterly smitten with Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Excellent.
Well, yeah, I mean the fact that I'd already written it down before we even began this podcast. Should just show how much you like this game and how much you've talked about it.
Bless you.
I didn't even need to think about it. Like, yep, that's going to be it. Delete, done. Right, moving on.
I think if there's a point in the future where you kind of either have enough sort of cash spare or you just fancy doing it. If you ever do pick up a Wii U, I think you fall into it like nobody's business. But I'm also in the situation now where I know a little bit, so I can kind of help and guide you through if ever I have.
Yeah.
So.
Like Dark Souls.
Like Dark Souls, yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So that was your official Over the Humanities first game of the year. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Yay!
Woot woot woot.
Excellent. Now then, as promised, for our second number one of the year, the year being 2013. Okay, I'll do it properly now. This is a title that it might not be the very best game of the year, because I think The Last of Us was the very best game of the year, but it is my favourite, and it is a game I cannot stop going back to, and it's a game that I will not shut up about given the chance to talk about it. And when going through my suggestions, my girlfriend Laura, she said, "You've got to have that because you don't shut up about it." It is another game on the Vita. It is a cross-play game on the PS3 and Vita, but I prefer it on the Vita. Yet again, it is a platformer, an indie platformer. It is a game filled with so much retro charm, so much fun. It's again, the gameplay is perfect. It's almost my perfect game. It's funny. It plays like a dream. It is bitch hard when it wants to be. It's full of it's a wonderful depiction of a certain culture. It's full of humour. It's full of, admittedly, humour that will date quite quickly, but it was very funny at the time. My 2013 game of the year is Guacamelee.
Woohoo! All right.
Yeah.
Right. The first instance, your first question is, why is this? If you think that The Last of Us is the best game of 2013,
yep,
why is this your favourite game? What pushed that to number one over number two?
Okay. What pushed it over the edge for me? While The Last of Us is a very, very, very good game, it is a very, very good game. Had Guacamelee not come out, this would have been number one without a shadow of a doubt. Easy. Guacamelee, it hit me at just the right time. It came out, I actually got a review code for it, because I was going to buy it anyway, but my review editor got me a code. I was like, brilliant, great, downloaded it on the PS3, put it on the Vita as well. I found out much later you could do cross-save by sending your save back and forward, so I'd already played it twice by the point that I realised this. It's a Metroidvania, which basically means you run around sort of openish platform of worlds. Really, Laura, turn your phone off. So rude. It's a Metroidvania game, so you run around platform worlds. You're gaining new abilities as you're moving around, and then with those abilities, you can then access new areas, new places you've not been before. It's in the same way, Castlevania, Metroid, the same way they do it.
Yeah,
which is fine. But the whole package, it's presented in this kind of sort of very, very sort of cutesy homage to Mexico. So you basically play as a luchador, and you acquire a mask. At the very start of the game, you get killed. You're just a regular guy and you get killed, but then the magical mask of the luchador, it finds you, and you then become a luchador, which is, they're really looked up to in this society, which you can, you tell that earlier. And then you must save the villain is kind of like the Day of the Dead skeletons. He's one of those, like a mariachi one of those, called Carlos Calaca, I think his name is, which is a pretty good name. And he's got his, there's like a tiger Aztec god that's with him. There's a guy called Flameface who's with him, who's a kind of a Mexican kind of gunslinger, but with a big fiery head.
That's a great name as well.
Flameface, yeah. It's so perfect. Flameface. There's Zitabay, I think her name is. They never say it out loud. It's all text. Xtabye, I think it is. Who's apparently a Mexican folk person, and she's like quite evil. She's constantly trying to come onto you as well, which is funny. But yeah, you're Juan, and you're trying to rescue your girl, the woman you love, by basically running around and punching skeletons up the face. What grabbed me immediately, the first thing you notice is that the combat is really, really good.
How so?
It's great. Well, you start with, it's quite simple. The very three first things you have, you can jump, you can punch, you've got a 3-hit combo, you've got an uppercut, and you can jump, and you can sort of do a downer cut, almost. You can do a down spike above someone. And, you get used to these abilities, and you start mixing them together. Like, oh, okay, punch, punch, uppercut, jump, punch, down, punch, drop down. You think, oh, wow, that's really good, I'm really doing well here. You get a defensive roll that you can use to sort of parry, almost, by kind of rolling through attacks and punching people from behind. One of the first powers you unlock as you go through, you find an old goat man. Who's a goat, and then he becomes an old man. And he has a Chuzo statue. No, it's Chuzo, not Chozo, because we're not going to get into copyright problems here. Chuzo. And these are what contain your special abilities, like another game that I could mention. And the first one you get is like an uppercut punch, which is with up and circle on the D-pad. And every special move, every special attack is tied to a direction and circle. Much like if you have played the game Smash Brothers, almost exactly like that. So you've got your up, your down, your left to right, and your neutral. But the clever way they do it, what they do, the uppercut is coloured red. And you will see around the world red blocks. Your red uppercut can break those red blocks. And
I'm with you, yeah.
It's such a simple, easy, visual way of letting you know that's the thing you need to do to get through this. And it's not they don't really lay it on thick. It's one of the games where you learn by doing. It doesn't say, you can break the red block with your punch. It's
intuitive.
Yeah, you're given it, and then, right, okay, get out of this. You think, okay, there's a red block there. I wonder if okay, that works. And then you've got like a forward dashing punch, which is blue. You've got the down is green. It's like a body slam. And you've got the neutral one, which is like a headbutt. And each of these special moves propel you in the direction that you press it in as well. So you're not kind of hitting forwards and circle and kind of going down. You're going in the direction you're pushing, which makes so much damn sense.
Yeah. Because
so often when you play a game like this, with deep combat, Devil May Cry is the one I always come back to, or Rising as well, Metal Gear Rising, where they have moves that involve like a back to forward flick.
Okay.
And like you're moving away from someone to move back in, and I often find they miss. This is just forward, up, down, or neutral. And as you go through, you'll learn how to use these, both by moving around the world, and there's also a gym you can go to in the main town of the game, where a chicken, whose name is Combo Chicken, which I didn't get for ages. Like, oh yeah, Chicken Combo, I like it. And basically he'll give you a set of moves on top of the screen and say, do those on my robot on my animated skeleton friend here. And it really, you start to realise, oh god, I can mix the roll in the middle of the punch? Oh, I see. And you get a real appreciation for just how much you can do with this very, very simple controls, because it's literally jump, punch, special moves. And when people have been punched a bit, you can hit triangle, you can grab them, and you can kick them, and you can slam them. You can unlock like a suplex, which will kind of send them backwards. You can unlock a big boot, which will fly them into other enemies forwards. And it's just, the combat is so feely. It feels great. And again, when you cock up, you know exactly what you did wrong. It was your damn fault because you weren't paying attention.
When a game's that intuitive, though, and the joy is rolling, like running your hand through that syrup, it's, when you enjoy the mechanics of a game, that's a real joy.
It is. It's great. And it's just like, you're not sitting there, you're using all of your skills all the time because they're not hidden in like obscure bits. You are actively going, right, uppercut, forward punch, punch, and then a downward smash, and then I'm going to catch you with a roll on the middle. It does kind of gate, so when you're in the air, you can only do each special move you've got one time in the air. And there's like a little counter of how many special moves you've got you can do before you need to, let them recharge a little bit.
Yeah.
And you collect chunks as you go through the game. You can purchase them as well, which increase that meter, so you can fire off like somewhere in the region of 8 before you have to do another one by the end. Which is good. It's enough. It's enough. It is more than enough. But yeah, the real joy, it comes from learning just how to use your skills, and you never feel like it's telling you like, oh, you know, you could do an uppercut and then a punch. You're just naturally learning them by just dicking about.
You feel it out, and then
you're feeling it out, and you're thinking, I wonder if I throw this guy over there. Oh my god, it knocked all those people over. Right, if I can get back down there, and oh my god, I can do that, and oh, I pissed him off the edge, and yes.
Now you see, with so many games, kind of really holding your hand so much. I think it's a lot of fun that you get in these sort of games like your Dark Souls or your Monster Hunters or your Guacamele's that are letting you discover that, because I think it kind of ignites you so much more when you go, oh, because it feels like yours, not that you've been shown. It belongs to you.
And that's it's part of what keeps you going. And the other part, it's the presentation is beautiful. It's kind of like a sort of cell shadedy sort of style. If you've watched Samurai Jack, it's a bit like that.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of very block colours, but very, very sort of stylised, chunky looking people. You can tell exactly what you're looking at every time. There's no kind of like, oh, what's that? It's very clearly a skeleton in a poncho. It's really obvious what you're doing as you're doing it. The whole thing is just dripping with like amazing soundtrack. There is the background art is like wrestling posters, but featuring other game characters.
All right.
For example, you'll have a poster with Los Super Hermanos, which will be Mario and Luigi looking guys back to back, or La Mascara versus Mega Hombre, which is Majora's Mask Link and Mega Man.
Oh, superb.
There's even little sort of pop culture nods as well. There's a little poster with Missing with the IKEA monkey on it.
Uh-huh.
You'll see a few meme sort of things. For example, there's a grumpy cat. There's a grumpy cat. It's like Grumpy Grunon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was advertising, I think, cigars. There's an advert for it's Castle Crashers. There's a little thing of Castle Crashers in there as well. You'll see there's a Mario made out of bricks in the side of one of the buildings. There's a Castlevania thing in the background of one scene that you won't notice unless you're looking for it.
Oh.
Like, the little in-jokes and the little references are so good, and they don't shove them in your face. They're just there, and you'll see them, and you laugh. And you go, that's clever. And then
it
you
adds
move
to
on.
the experience, and they become memorable within the level that you're going through.
Doesn't rub them in your face.
No.
They even reference the I Am Error from Zelda.
Uh-huh.
There's even a joke to that in there as well, and it just when you discover it, you're like, oh my god, this is great. This is great. This is everything I want out of a game, because it was making me smile. I felt like I was getting better as I was playing it, and it doesn't lead you by the hand. You get better because it wants you to get better at it.
Yeah.
And that's
some real art, though.
Yeah. It does this particularly well in its platforming challenges. So as you go through, you'll get new platforming skills. Not only your kind of uppercuts and your punches and your smashes, you'll also get platforming skills. For example, you'll get the wall jump quite early on. Double jumps, which you unlock as you go. There is a wall dash, which is where you sit on a vertical wall, and then dash off horizontally, almost flying, which you can then use to mix in your puzzles. You can do the air dodge in the air. Air dodge. Sorry.
Air dodge?
Air dodge in the air dodge. About 2 hours in, you gain the ability to turn into a chicken.
Uh-huh.
For no reason. Really. It just gives it to you. You get stuck and says, you're a chicken now. And then you get out like, you can be a chicken whenever you want now. Like, cool.
Uh-huh.
And you also get the ability to switch between a light world and a dark world. Of course, being this Mexican theme, there's a very sort of Day of the Dead feeling to the monsters you're fighting. They're skeletons, they're sort of dead-looking things. And the dead world is where they all live. And you'll find the towns will be full of just skeletons standing around. You can just go talk to them and say hello. And the switching back and forwards between them is great, because there'll be platforms that didn't exist in one world that will exist in the other. There'll be really technical things to be doing. This all can jumping into a portal which will switch the world around. You'll then need to do an uppercut to just make it onto the next ledge, roll straight over some vines that will attack you, and then hit another portal down the bottom to go back to the light world again, and then hit your headbutt punch so you don't fall in the sea. It's really hard to explain without doing it. Like, really hard platforming, but really well-designed platforming. You can tell what you have to do. You've just got to learn how to do it. I mean, in a second. My number 4, as well, because it instantly restarts you back at the front of where you cocked up.
All right, cool.
And it's quite well gated. You're not going to sit there banging your head against it for an hour going, I can't do this puzzle, it's shit. You're going to... Yeah. There are means and ways to make it better. You will die. You will cock up puzzles left, right, and centre. But it will go whoop, and you'll go straight back to the where you last, jumped into the room, and just try again. And it's like, yeah, this is a really hard room. Have a go, beat it. Go on, be cool, and then you'll be cool, and you'll beat it, and you'll be like, fucking yes!
Sense of achievement, yeah, from the sheer challenge of
it,
overcoming.
Totally, and another thing it does really well, really, really, really well, is one of the few times this year that DLC has come out that has not been evil and terrible.
Really?
Yeah. There have been two separate DLC occasions. The very first one was just a costume pack. It was about £1. There were 3 new costumes you could pick, which was a palette swap, like a costume swap with your companion in the game, who's a female wrestler, because it has co-op too. It has co-op. And you get like a female wrestler called Tostada. You can swap costumes with her, and it gives you, I think, improved throws, but less good punches. Like, it gives you stat bonuses and boosts.
Okay.
There's a chicken outfit, dressed up like a full, yellow chicken, which gives you health regeneration but crap stamina for your special attacks. And when you turn into a chicken in that mode, you turn into an egg on legs, which is just the loveliest little touch. And there's a bone one where you turn into a skeleton, where you don't get health regen, but you've got infinite stamina. So it mixes up the way you play the game. And I've been through most of the game with each one of those outfits. Like, it is no exaggeration to say I've played this probably 6 or 7 times already.
Exaggerate.
Oh, it's good.
It's really good.
It's a good one.
Well done, Pat.
So that was good. That's good. Good DLC. And then the next DLC that came out was 3 more costumes. I think there was one that made you look like one of the beasts that you fight in the game. There was one that referenced El Portero, I think, like a Brazilian goalkeeper or a Mexican goalkeeper.
Uh-huh.
With like a big, vibrant, multicoloured outfit, and you just look like him. And it gives you better throws, I think, which is quite funny. Mm-hmm. And the last one is the devil outfit, where you just look like Diablo, which is again really cool. And it also gave you a set of challenge missions to do, which are basically letting you take the mechanics you've learned and then use them to the nth degree and really push the most you can get out. And there are a few platforming ones, a few combat ones, as you'd expect. It all takes place in sort of the underworld, in hell, where the devil lives, and he lives in a building that's like Devil's Advocate, but it's DA, and it happens. The logo on the building happens to resemble the logo of another gaming company that rhymes with DA. It's beautiful. But the challenges it gives you are like, right, it'll take away the dodge and say, get a combo of 200. You're like, shit, how am I going to do that? Uh-huh. And you really start to learn just exactly what you can do with these skills. And again, it's not beating you over the head with it. It's saying, right, we're taking this away. What can you do? Like, And again, the platforming challenges in the DLC are some of the most evil ones in the entire game. And they're all raced as well, so you've got to just go. Cock up once, you get a silver medal, try again. But you really want to get the golds.
Yeah.
It matters. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I can do it. I was half a second away, I can fucking do it. And you can access that within a couple of hours of starting the main game proper. Like, you shouldn't, because you're not that good by that point. But you can, if you really want to.
Yeah.
And it's just, the world is just full of so many little secrets. There's chests hidden everywhere. You can just go wherever you want. And it's just fun, man. It's on my Vita forever, and I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it. It's a new classic, and I like Laura says, I cannot stop talking about it. When someone mentions it somewhere, I will instantly say, Guacamelee! Everyone play it. It's really good.
I've got it on my Vita through Plus, but I've seem to have shunned it thus far, and I'm going to put it on tonight. So.
It's fucking glorious. It's just happy gaming. It's the kind of game you'll play and it will put a grin on your face from ear to ear. And that is why it's my number one, because it's just so goddamn fun that I cannot stop talking about it.
Well, I'm going to goddamn put it on this evening, you beast.
Ugh! Another one. One of us.
I think it's been a good chat. It's I don't know how it comes across on the other side of things, but I've really enjoyed, as your friend, listening to your top five, because I genuinely do.
Two of yours, but there are a couple of yours that threw me for six. I was like, what?
But also that we've got 10 titles that five each that are different from the others, which makes it really interesting, I think.
It's because we weren't allowed to pick Dark Souls, wasn't it?
Next
year, number five?
Next year's number one might be a collaborative effort. but I've got the thing next year with Monster Hunter 4's coming out on the 3DS, so that will be.
And I've got the Second Son's coming out next year, and I'm very excited for that. But that's a whole other podcast, isn't it?
That'll be next year, sir.
Yeah. That was our top five. Just to run through top fives in order, just to keep count. My top five. Number 5, Spelunky. Number 4, Assassin's Creed 4. Number 3, Thomas Was Alone. Number 2, The Last of Us. And number 1, Guacamelee.
And my top 5 was number 1, Monster Hunter Remix. Number 1, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on Wii U. Number 2 was State of Decay on the Xbox 360. Number 3 was Deus Ex Human Revolution, the Director's Cut on Wii U. Number 4 was Lego City Undercover on the Wii U. And number 5 was Attack of the Friday Monsters on the 3DS.
Fantastic. If you've enjoyed the show, if you've enjoyed listening to our Game of the Year show, which is out before the end of the year, but nothing comes out this time of year, who cares? Please share it around, tell your friends. You can tweet us at Twin Humanities. You can also follow us on the Tumblr, which is at fill me in here,
thehumanities.podcast.tumblr.com.
Fantastic. You can find us on the Twitter at Paddy Stardust. That's all one word. Or you, my friend, is at Coffee Jesus with a Z as the first S.
Yeah, or a lightning bolt, depending on.
Oh no,
Mama, where's my lightning bolt key? It's just one along from the key next to shift.
Lightning Jesus.
Coffee Jesus. Us. How pretentious is that? I'm the new prince. Call me Prince. Call me Symbol.
The artist formerly known as Coffee Jesus with a Z.
Coffee Jesus. Us.
Bloody hell.
Anyway.
But yeah, thank you ever so much for listening to us talk for what feels like probably 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's been a lovely chat. And hopefully next year we'll have more games to talk about as Game of the Year. Because it was really hard for me to pick my decision. It was really hard. And we will probably go into that at a later date because there's a lot of also-rans that probably deserve an honourable mention some point down the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, thank you for listening. We have been the Twin Humanities. This was the Humanities. And we will see you next time.
Cheer, bye.
Bye!